Tonight on the SDG-Hub, we'll discuss the topic unwrapping waste colonialism in Ghana's fashion industry. And to discuss this, we have with us Frida Lidbom. She's an expert in sustainable and ethical fashion. Business PM is brought to you in partnership with the Center for Sustainable Transformation, CeST. Good evening once again. If you just tuned in, you're welcome to another enlightening episode on our weekly SDG Hub, your go-to platform for in-depth conversations on pressing global issues and sustainable development goals, run by the Center for Sustainable Transformation, CeST, here on Asaase Radio. I'm your host, Kevin Annan, and as usual, I'm here with my co-host,
Rosemary Balami.
She's from the Young Reporters for the Environment, YRE Ghana, a program under CeST as well. As global production, consumption, and disposal that prioritize profit over environmental and social well-being persists across various global sectors globally, including the fashion industry, a popular term, waste colonialism, has gained grounds in our quest to achieve sustainability. Tonight on the SDG Hub, we'll go into the pressing issue within the global fashion industry, waste colonialism, and its impact on Ghana's fashion industry. We'll also explore how the influx of second-hand garments affect local economies, cultures, and the environment. And to discuss, we'll also discuss ways to raise awareness among consumers in the global north.
Absolutely, Kevin. According to the All Foundation, an Accra-based NGO estimates that Ghana receives around 15 million items of second-hand clothing from the global north, and that on average, 40% of every bill opened in Kantaman to Accra is discarded as waste, causing enormous environmental and social problems. We are excited to hear on today's episode about the innovative responses and resilience strategies emerging in Ghana in response to waste colonialism. We'll also learn about the rich cultural heritage of Ghanaian textiles and handcrafts and how these are being preserved and promoted despite the challenges posed by second-hand clothing import.
Okay, so to help us unpack this topic, as we mentioned earlier, we're joined in the studio by an expert in sustainable and ethical fashion. We have with us Frida Lidbom. Frida, you're welcome to the studios.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you for having me.
It's very good to have you here. So this topic is very interesting. You are into ethical fashion and sustainability in general. But I'd like you to tell us yourself what it is that you do. Just give us a brief introduction of yourself.
Yeah, so I am currently studying my master's in sustainable and ethical fashion in London. And right now I'm doing my master's project about waste colonialism. Yeah. And also just to see, the reason I have come here is because I'm just so curious to see what is emerging in the light of the influx of second-hand garments in the fashion industry in Ghana.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the basics, right? Can you explain to those of us who do not know what waste colonialism is? Can you explain it to us in simple terms?
Well, the term waste colonialism has actually been around for a good while, and it started like in the late 80s when some African leaders expressed concern under the UN, UN Environmental Program. They expressed concern about all the hazardous waste that came into the African countries from like the high GDP countries, so mainly the global north. And it is, like you say, Ghana is importing 15 million garments every week, which is crazy, and up to 40% of it is not even sold. Yeah. Because they have to sort it when it comes here, and a lot of it is not in the state of being sold. So it's basically just a system that transfers to the power dynamics that is still very much affected from colonialism. Yeah.
All right. So how do you think this influx has impacted the local fashion industry and the textile sector in Ghana?
Well, that is part of what I'm here to find out. I'm doing my research about that. So far I have been talking to vendors and store owners and the designers, and it's clear that it is a big challenge for also the citizens of Ghana. And with the artisans, people are, because of the economic, people are preferring to buy secondhand and cheap clothing over the handmade textiles. Yeah. And also it's because of this, it's like a competition on the price. So the artisans can't compete on the price because the secondhand is so cheap.
So cheap, okay.
And yeah, at the same time though, you can see these skills being incorporated in markets like Kantamanto, which is the actually biggest secondhand market in the world. And Kantamanto market is in Accra, and people are implementing these skills into that, where they are recycling and upcycling all the garments that are coming in.
Wow. So now let's talk about, you made mention that one of the reasons is the fact that this secondhand clothing is cheaper than, but again, let's look at some of the impacts, because if a lot comes in and then, I mean, more than half of them goes into waste. Well, let's talk about some of these environmental and, health implications of waste colonialism in Ghana. What do you think they are?
Oh, I have read a lot about it before I came.
Yeah.
But also being here and observing and talking to the people that are actually living in it, it's just a completely other experience, obviously. Yeah. So it gets tangled, like the clothes are getting tangled up.
Yeah.
And it goes into the drains, and it goes out in the communities and in the beaches. Wow. And it affects a lot of industries, not only the fashion industry, but also the fishing industry, because it's all over the beach. The
beaches and all that.
Yeah, like the fish's habitats. And also with the meat, because the cows and the animals are eating a lot of the waste.
Wow.
And because it goes down in the drains, it also blocks the drains, so it can be like floodings.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it flooding and all that.
Yeah, with like the rain season, everything. So it seems like everybody is affected.
By this.
Yeah, in one way or another.
That's quite concerning. So during your time in Ghana, I'm sure you've encountered, several innovative responses and resilience strategies. Could you share some with us? And also, what do you think are some of these innovative approaches that the global north could learn from?
Yeah, so that is something that I really want to highlight in my project. Yeah. Because it's been a lot about how bad it is and the environmental impact which is huge. But I kind of want to take the conversation further and see what is actually emerging from this. And it is just a complete other mindset here. I think traditionally also, because people are valuing textiles in a whole different way than we do in the global north. And also just the creativity and the knowledge and for example, with the upcycling designers, they're so skilled on what they're doing, and it really needs to be highlighted and talked about and supported and invested in. Yeah. Because this is the place where everything is coming. So markets like Kantamanto, of course, they have the solution. Yeah. It's quite obvious. But it just seems like the global north is not listening to that or putting the efforts into that. Yeah. So also, it's interesting to see how the brands, the local brands, are affected, because there's also a lot of skills into this fashion industry here in Ghana. So Yeah, it's been very fascinating to see like the resilience of.
So when you went to these places, do they upcycle and recycle some of these?
Yeah, they upcycle almost everything. Everything, like, and for me that is, I have grown up in Norway and people are just buying and then throwing, and we are losing our skills. It's not common for people to deliver their clothes to the tailor. So it's just, I think the global north really can learn from just the mindset in the first place. Yeah.
So now let's talk about awareness creation. What strategies do you think are effective in educating, consumers in the global north about this waste colonialism and the role they can play in mitigating it? Since most of these waste sometimes, and not even sometimes, they come from the global north to the global south. So how do we raise awareness? Because they also have a part to play.
Yeah, absolutely. It is actually shocking how few people in the global north that knows about where their clothes is ending up. And a part of the problem is because communication from brands and retailers that are promoting a lot of it as charity and donations. Obviously, like, the intention was probably a good one, but now it has become a huge problem.
Okay, so it means that to them, they know that they are giving their clothes out to charity.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it ends up...
Yeah. So the charity organization sorted in Europe. It's a lot of arguments. Some people are saying that no, they don't send waste to the global south. It's a fair trade.
Wow.
It is not a fair trade because in the end, it's the vendors that are working here that has to select out what can be sold and not. So I think just education and sharing knowledge, cross collaborations between cultures, also like the OR Foundation, which is working for a justice-led economy in Ghana. They have now an exchange program where they have had designers from Paris coming here to learn. And then the upcycling designers in Cantamanto are in France now, and
so they do that sort of exchange of knowledge. Oh, that's nice.
So I think just talking more about it and raising awareness is very important.
But do you think there's so we are talking about solutions going forward, right? What are some of the solutions that we could use to solve this waste colonialism issue?
Well, it's a big and a complex issue. Of course, when I first read about it, I was all for like ban it. But it turns out it's not that simple because obviously people are making a livelihood out of it. But at the same time, it's not a secure one. It's not secure jobs and it's not sustainable jobs. So personally, I think markets like Cantamanto are sitting on a lot of the solution in terms of how to handle the waste that the global north can look to and listen to, but then also for the people here to invest in those solutions that they are having and to support them so that they can have their secure jobs and that their skills is used for good. All
right. I'm sure since you came by during your time at Cantamanto, you saw some of the traditional craftsmen and the work that they were doing. Do you think that they have any role to play in sustainable fashion or ethical fashion?
Handcrafts is super important. Like, that is also another thing that is so fascinating by coming here to do the research, is that the word sustainability is not something that is used because it's just incorporated in the culture. And of course it used to be like that in the global north many years ago, but we are losing it now. And so it's very important. That's why I'm saying to invest in those skills to fund it and to support those people that are having these skills,
Yeah.
because it's so important for the future of sustainability in the fashion industry.
Yeah. So now let's take a look at policy and regulation. What do you think is the role of policy and regulation in addressing waste colonialism in Ghana's fashion industry?
Well, the fashion industry is one of the least regulated industries in the world, which is crazy because it's also one of the most polluting industries. So there is definitely a lot that can be done. The EU is working on it. Now it's in the process of implementing EPR, which means extended producer responsibility.
Okay.
But this regulation is, again, it's the EU Commission, and it is not really a global solution.
Yeah, it's for the European,
Yeah,
region.
and also it doesn't target the real issue, which is overproduction.
Yeah.
It seems like nobody dares to go there. And almost every issue in the fashion industry, it roots back to overproduction.
Yeah.
So, I think we need to found a regulation that is applicable for everybody. Yeah,
Okay.
for the whole.
So it means
globe.
that we as Ghanaians should have our policy and regulation regarding this. As Europe is also, doing their part.
Yeah, but also like just a more holistic solution than just like the Europe doing their part, because it still ends up being sorted in Europe, and people here are getting stuff they're not really asking for, like thick blankets and cord. It's not something that you would wear here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just something that is more applicable for everybody.
For everyone.
Yeah, and that targets this place and people in places like Kantamanto.
Yeah, exactly. So since being here, have you heard of any Ghanaian designers or brands that embody sustainable, and ethical fashion in their practices?
Oh yeah, so many. Today I visited a brand called Use Duro.
Okay.
Very nice brand. They use local artisans for dyeing and sewing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. And also it's a lot of incredible designers in the Kantamanto community. They are so skilled. They can take everything and just make it to something.
To something else.
Yeah. And brands that has emerged from Kantamanto is like Nakoi and Kalkol.
Okay.
They are also on this trip to Paris, so I couldn't meet them, unfortunately.
Wow.
Hopefully I can do it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so many. Like every day I get new tips on new brands that I should talk to. So it's just endless, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So would you say that for your research you're making headway for the purpose why you came to Ghana?
Yeah.
You're making some headway in your research and getting
Yeah.
information on what you want.
Absolutely.
From going to Kantamanto.
Yeah, absolutely. The place, I have read about it so many times, but you have to experience it.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
And what was the experience like?
Yeah.
So fascinated. Like the first time I went there, I could not be there for more than 40 minutes because
Why?
it was so intense for me. It was
Crowded?
so crowded, so many people. But after this amazing designer called Coffee Heller, he showed me around Kantamanto. It was like a labyrinth, and I was like, how do you know where to go? You have to follow me out because I don't know where the way out is. But yeah, I have definitely talked to a lot of amazing people, and I'm so grateful that I have gotten the insight and that they're willing to share with me. I'm just here to learn and to listen and get people's perspective. And I think that is what more people should do. Talk with the people that are actually working here.
Yeah.
And that are actually doing it. They're finding the solutions because they don't have a choice, really. So, yeah.
So, what would you tell young designers and fashion enthusiasts in Ghana who are navigating the impact of waste colonialism?
Just keep on going. You are definitely a good role model for others in the industry, brands, designers. And hopefully the global north will look this direction and learn from it, because there's also this misconception, I think, which is like the stigma where global north is like, but we have developed the right way. No, obviously not, because it's destroying the planet. So just keep on doing what you're doing.
Indeed.
All right then. That has been a wonderful conversation. And as we wrap up, what message would you like to leave to our listeners about the importance of addressing waste colonialism and supporting sustainable fashion?
Well, be conscious about what you're buying, and remember that every choice that you take is actually impacting people that you don't know and people far away from you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Frida, for sharing
you.
your insights and expertise with us today. It's been an enlightening conversation. To our listeners, let's take these lessons to heart and strive for a more sustainable and ethical approach to fashion.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. Remember, every choice you make as a consumer can contribute to a more sustainable and ethical fashion industry. So please tune in same time next week as we continue discussions on all things sustainable development right here on Asaase Radio 99.5, so that people and the planet can prosper. If you have any topic you want us to discuss, please share with us and shoot an email to sdg-hub@cestint.org. Remember, dear listeners, to keep raising your voices, keep advocating for change, and keep tuning into the SDG Hub for more insightful conversations. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep working towards a sustainable future.
And that's a wrap on the SDG Hub. Thank you for staying with us here. We've been speaking with Frida Lidbom, who's an expert on sustainable and ethical fashion. I've been your host, Kevin Annan, and I did this with my co-host,
Rosemary Balami.